Okay, so recently we ranked all of the attack type ultimates, so it's only natural that we now move on to the second class in the game, that of course being the range types. There's a lot of secret techniques to get through, some good, some not so great, so let's not waste any more time and get into it. At the last position we have Super God Imitation Drawing. You whip out your scroll and quickly draw 2 humanoids out of ink, which then come alive and charge straight forward, dealing damage to any enemy in their path. This is one of those ultimates that doesn't insta-kill anyone, but you do get it pretty often in game, so it's made up for. That being said, there is no tracking on the drawing whatsoever, they do just travel in a straight line. Thankfully they are incredibly fast, so it's not exactly easy to dodge them. But honestly, the biggest issue with this ultimate is simply the fact that it deals way too little damage for a secret technique. Not even being able to finish off enemies when they have below 50% health. It straight up deals less damage than something like Majestic Destroyer Flame, which is kind of crazy. Coming down the list we have Summoning Ghetto Statue, which makes you summon the Ghetto Statue, which then roars and releases a spiral chakra dragon that kills anyone it comes into contact with. Additionally, after the use of this jutsu you will be left with 1 HP and no jutsus for 5 seconds. The cost of this ultimate is honestly just way too high for what it provides, as the activation time is pretty long, giving the enemies quite a bit of time to escape, meaning that it's basically not at all rare to not get any kills with this. And whenever that happens, you'll basically get nothing and die the next time anybody hits you. Not great. Sure, it does have the potential to wipe out the entire enemy team, but it's not at all easy to pull off. The next spot on our list is occupied by Inferno style Susano Flame Control. The jutsu shrouds you in a purple 50% Susano, which then fires off 5 arrows, which deal pretty big damage to anyone they hit. This ultimate got a pretty decent buff 4 months ago, which added 1 arrow and also increased the damage and the tracking. Nevertheless, it still doesn't really feel all that consistent to me, as you don't have perfect control over whoever the Susano will target, meaning that still a lot of the arrows will end up missing. If you are going to use it, make sure to do so in the midst of a big fight so that the enemies don't have much time to dodge. Hey, before we continue, I'd like to just quickly ask you to subscribe and like the video, as honestly any engagement really helps me out. So if you want to see more of these videos, make sure to hit one of those 2 buttons. Or in a perfect world, both of them. Now, let's continue. Moving further down the list is Totsuka Blade, which engulfs you in half a Susano and swings its sword, sending out a wave of fire that instantly kills anyone it touches. As cool as this ultimate is, there are a few problems with it. First of all, the activation time isn't exactly the fastest, as you first summon the Susano and then swing its sword, meaning that anyone watching you has quite a bit of time to react and get out of the way. This wouldn't necessarily be a problem, but the wave of fire is simply too thin and slow to hit anyone who is watching it, meaning that your best bet is to use it as a surprise attack or when backed up into a corner by multiple enemies. Let's continue down the list to our next entry, Fire Style Giant Flame Bombs. This secret technique makes the user blow out a small fire directly in front of them, dealing around 50% damage to enemies caught in it and repeating the same after a short delay, meaning that foes that weren't able to escape end up dying in the fire. This ultimate recharges as fast as any, so you'll be able to use it multiple times during a game. The biggest weakness though is the incredibly small range of the fire, as it truly only hits players very close to you. This means that it's best used in game modes where your opponents will have to stay still at some point. So save it ideally for either base or barrier battle, as there it can certainly get you a bunch of kills if used wisely. Moving down the list we have Secret Red Move, Performance of 100 Puppets, which makes you create 100 puppets which all attack the lockdown enemy, dealing damage and poisoning them. This secret technique is kind of underwhelming honestly. It can quite often result in you not even getting a kill from it, as quite a good chunk of the puppets have to hit in order for you to kill someone with full health. It doesn't take super long to charge up, but still, you'd like it to be a bit faster for the fact that you're at most probably getting 1 kill from it. Continuing on, we have Summoning Jutsu Reanimation, which makes you summon the first and second Hokage, who then cast their respective dragon jutsu, which damages anyone it hits, while also lowering their ultimate gauge and reducing their speed. This ultimate is just kind of okay. It will usually kill anyone it hits, and the tracking on the dragons is really good, as well as their speed and range. That being said, it feels like this jutsu often misses when it shouldn't, and it also doesn't exactly charge the fastest. It's not a slow charge by any means, but there are just better ultimates with the same charging speed. Definitely usable, but not the most meta pick. Up next is Heaven Concealed. This secret technique makes you summon a huge boulder that falls out of the sky, instantly killing anyone within the impact area. This again isn't necessarily a bad ultimate, but it does face some of the same issues as Totsuka Blade, since its activation time isn't the fastest and the huge indicator is enough for the enemies near the perimeter to simply get out of it. It also doesn't charge the fastest, so you will usually only get it once a game. That being said, it's better than it used to be, since nowadays it falls at least a little bit faster, and if used on something like a base, can definitely be very effective in getting you some kills. Coming next up is probably one of the least used ultimates in the range class, Amaterasu Dual Layer. This jutsu pairs you up with a summoning of Itachi, where you both create susanos and strike the targeted enemy with a Yasaka beats and flame control respectively. Afterwards, whatever you hit, you light on fire with Amaterasu. Honestly, it's kind of an underrated jutsu. Its biggest issue is the fact that it takes a while to charge up, but it's not at all hard to hit really. And it's also not difficult to get multiple kills with it. Following up is Kamui Shuriken, which makes you create a perfect blue Susano that then throws 4 Kamui Shurikens in front of you, killing anyone hit by them. I'm honestly not a huge fan of this ultimate as it takes quite a bit to charge up but isn't at all hard to miss with. It's one of those ultimates that definitely has the potential to kill a big amount of people, but actually executing it in such a way is more rare than you not getting a single kill out of it. If you are gonna use it, stick to game modes where crowded teamfights can happen the most often. Further down the list we have Kirin, which creates a thundercloud above the targeted enemy, smashing them with a lightning dragon which damages anyone in the surrounding area. Not killing them instantly if at full health, but dealing around 80% damage. This jutsu is basically like a targeted missile strike, allowing you to deal a lot of damage from a far away distance. The issue it has is that it does take a little while to activate and gives a pretty big indicator to the enemy team, allowing them to escape the lightning dragon. Nonetheless, you do get it pretty often, so missing one isn't really that big of a deal. Similarly to flame bombs, this jutsu works best in something like base and barrier battle, as the enemies will have to be still at some point. Further down the list we have Tandem Paper Bomb, which makes you place down a paper bomb which creates a bunch of paper bombs when somebody steps on it, that then explode, dealing massive damage to anyone around. This ultimate is overall actually pretty good. By far its biggest problem is making sure somebody steps on it. This can obviously be easily achieved with something like Heavenly Hand Power, but you don't really just want to spend an entire jutsu spot for an ult, unless you of course have other uses for it. For that reason, I'd mainly stick to using this in base or flag battle, as it stays on the ground for quite a long time, actually allowing you to just wait until somebody steps on your trap. Continuing down the list we have Hidden Jutsu Crystal Ice Mirrors, which makes you create a dome of ice mirrors, trapping any enemy inside of it and dealing continuous damage to them for the next 5 seconds. This ultimate has a very short recharge time and usually is able to kill whoever you trap inside of it. The only problem with this jutsu is the fact that you have to land it, for which you usually either need a bit of luck or a still target. Since you don't exactly want to rely on luck, I'd recommend using this in base or flag battle. Up next, we have the most recent range type ultimate introduced into the game, Host Transformation Six Tails. It transforms you into the six-tailed beast, after which you fire bubbles that track nearby enemies and you finish off with a massive purple bubble that explodes and deals big damage. This ultimate isn't anything insane, but for how short the fill time on it is, it actually deals really decent damage, and has the potential to get you a couple of kills each time you use it. Ideally, I'd recommend using it in a crowded area, as that's where the big bubble will deal the most damage. Coming down the list we have Shikigami Dance Storm, which creates a storm of little papers which disable the enemy's jutsus for 10 seconds, except their substitution. The area effect on this technique is huge, covering a decent chunk of the map, meaning that it's pretty hard to get out of for the enemy team. Using this in a team fight gives you a massive advantage over the other team, allowing you to all but guarantee coming out on top. It also has a really good recharge time, usually allowing you to use it 2 times in a game. The effect does only last for 10 seconds, but usually that's enough time. Let's move on to our next entry, Takemikazuchi no Kami. This ultimate makes you create a perfect form Susano, which then charges the targeted enemy with a Chidori engulfed in Inferno flames, instantly killing anyone that comes into contact with it. This is just a great ultimate honestly. It's easy to hit, insta-kills, and has the potential to get you multiple kills. The only issue is the fact that it takes pretty long to charge up. You will only usually get it once a game, which is honestly completely fine. But coming up are simply ultimates that you can get multiple times and each time kill multiple people. So that's why this jutsu isn't any higher. Next up on the list is C4 Karura. This ultimate creates a flame cone that slowly gets bigger and ends up exploding, killing everyone in the surrounding area. This is one of the simplest yet most reliable and consistent ultimates in the game, as it has basically all of the properties you would want from a secret technique. It's an instant KO and the range on it is very good, and it doesn't take too long to charge up, allowing you to get it mostly twice a game. Using this in a team fight or even better in the midst of a big fight in survival battle can honestly get you 3+ kills, and it's not at all hard to pull off. I am genuinely struggling trying to think of any bad sides to this Jutsu, as I don't think there are any. Up next on the list we have Steam Imp, which one by one creates 4 water clones of the second Mizukage, that then chase any enemy and explode when they get close to them. I genuinely believe this is one of the most underused ultimates in the game, as it's incredibly good yet I don't see many people using it. Sure, it's not the best when used on big maps with a lot of obstacles and empty space, but on the other maps, it's absolutely brutal. Especially for something like Survival Battle, where it alone can give you the win. It's like 4 smaller versions of C4 Karura, plus the recharge time is pretty low. What's not to like, you know? Coming down the list we have Wind Style Sea Dragon. This technique just makes you create a huge tornado which sweeps anyone near it and continually deals damage to them whilst not allowing them to escape. This is just an incredibly easy ultimate to pull off, as messing this one up is almost impossible. And for how simple it is to use, it provides great value. Not only will it damage anyone in it, but it will also not allow them to complete any objective for that period of time. So it not only gives you kills, but also additional time to do whatever you need. You can't really go wrong with this Jutsu. And at number 1, unsurprisingly, Karma Awakening. This ultimate gives you a huge boost in speed and attack power, whilst also increasing the damage of your ninjutsu and shortening cooldowns. Paired with all of this, you can activate the ultimate a second time and teleport above a targeted enemy, smashing them with a huge Karma Rasengan. In my mind, there's no doubt that this is the best ultimate for range types, as both parts of this jutsu are honestly great on their own, and combined just deadly. It also doesn't take too long to charge up, usually allowing you to get it twice a game. I'm honestly kind of shocked it hasn't been nerfed yet. And with that, the list is finished. Let me know in the comments what you don't or do agree with, as obviously my opinion is not the objectively correct one. Soon we will continue the series with defense types, so make sure to subscribe if you want to see that. Anyway, thanks a lot for watching and I will see you soon. Bye!